Welcome everyone to the Mail Fuzz TV News Podcast. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Connor.
I'm still here.
Unfortunately,
For everyone.
we are a TV podcast. We get together. We talk about the pilots, the renewals, the cancellations, other tidbits, and just new TV shows in development, all that kind of thing. And we'll get pretty much straight into it. So. We start with renewals and cancellations. That tends to be what we begin with. And there's a couple of meaty ones here, basically from the Star Trek corner of the world. Star Trek Strange New Worlds has been renewed for Season 3 by Paramount Plus, which...
Had Season 2 yet?
Nope. Season 2 is coming in the summer, so this is an early renewal. And they've also renewed Star Trek Lower Decks for Season 5, and... likewise, it's next season, Season 4. It doesn't even have an actual premiere date yet. It just is coming sometime late summer, is the current.
Say what you want about the current Trek stuff that's been going, for a few years now, obviously. They've been pretty good at having a plan of like, okay, we'll renew fairly far in advance. We'll kind of let things run. They've not really cancelled, like, Discovery was the first one to be cancelled, and even that, they were like, hey, go back, redo your ending.
Yeah, it's not the last of the Star Trek news this week. Another thing will be popping up later. But, yeah, I mean, it shows confidence again in the shows that they are keeping around. I think maybe there was a slight concern that with one cancellation and Picard was ending anyway, or maybe the dominoes are falling a little bit. Maybe they're not as committed to doing Trek right now. But then they immediately renew these two. It's like, okay, and there's another bit of news later, so... yeah, it feels like they're still in the game. They were done with Discovery, but they're not necessarily done with Trek in general.
Which is fine. And Picard was always a limited thing anyway. I feel like we always knew it was 3 seasons.
No, we did. We always knew that was 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not even counting that really in the doom and gloom, if you will, because it was always going to be that.
Yeah.
So less interesting. We have Season 2 of The Night Agent confirmed from Netflix. Apparently, it's popular.
Did you watch it?
No.
No, me either.
No one seemed to care about it.
I've not really seen a lot of people talk about it.
Seems to be doing well numbers. Well, I guess this is like their CBS fare. I guess it's something that's appealing to the masses, but not necessarily the talkative part of the internet. That would be my guess, because I've not seen anyone talk about it at all. The only time I have seen this show mentioned is when I've been looking for news and those articles about it. Next up, CBS renewed Blue Bloods for Season 14, which is not that exciting. The only interesting thing about this one is that this was a little bit later of a renewal, and there was a little bit written about why that was. Apparently CBS wanted to cut costs on the show, and that was sort of delaying any sort of renewal order. And from the sounds of it, the cast and the sort of the head of the crew, like the uppers in the crew, whether that means the writers or whoever, all agreed to take pay cuts so the show could keep going, so that everyone who worked on the show would keep their job. So
surprising to say that's a late renewal, given that we're not even in April yet. Typically, there's still renewals happening on network TV at this time.
But it's late for CBS. They've already renewed most of the stuff they're renewing. So this was one that was, and it noted as well that all the major cast are all coming back. So like it does kind of seem like the major cast who could have all just sort of cut and run after 13 seasons, because they've probably made enough money to be quite comfortable, decide to stick around. I don't care about the show, but
fair to them.
I respect Tom Selleck a bit for this.
My assumption here is that obviously they took a pay cut. It's still presumably pretty reasonable,
I imagine.
Plus, combined with all the residuals they'll get every time there's the things are replayed. They're like, yeah, this is a comfy job. Let's just carry on.
That is probably a big part of it. It's probably quite cozy. So as long as the pay cut, even if, because I believe they were trying to lower the budget by 25%. That was the figure that was quoted, and that doesn't necessarily mean everyone took a 25% pay cut necessarily, but that's what they were aiming to do. So
yeah.
If they're all taking various cuts, but if they're still comfortable enough, and if it's a relatively easy show to shoot, and for Tom Selleck, he largely, I think, sits at a desk or a dining table, or he's on the phone a lot. He's not running around doing action stuff. It's
a fairly easy job for some of them, I imagine. And like you say, they've already done 13 seasons of it. It's they know what they're doing. They know exactly what to expect week in, week out.
It's probably a well-oiled machine at this point, I expect, and
I'd like to think so. I'd be concerned if it's not after that long.
So yeah, but hey, 14 seasons, that is for a show, I know CBS have a lot of CSIs that have went a long time and NCISs that have went a long time. I feel like Blue Bloods, while I remember it launching and every so often it'll pop up in Renewal News or whatever, it's not as much of a name as those shows, so this also getting to 14 seasons is relatively notable.
Yeah, it's not like it's surprising because it's CBS, but also it's still, not nothing.
Yeah. I mean, they have a relatively high bar for what they consider a success because their ratings are better than everywhere else. So,
yeah,
if it's keeping in the fight, even with this slight caveat that they're accepting a little bit of a cost reduction to keep going, not that anyone I think cares about any overall plot in that. It's not like it's got some big saga that's not going to have an ending. It's all week to week plots anyway. So it's not like anything would have been disastrously unfinished if they hadn't come back for another season. But hey,
some unfinished character arcs usually in that scenario.
Yeah, so yeah, Blue Bloods renewed for season 14. Although 14's nothing when you've been renewed for season 20, which is what Grey's Anatomy's been renewed for at NBC.
20. Oh, that's a big one.
Which I think officially makes it the longest running primetime medical drama.
Well, I hope it keeps that credit.
The article said that. Not just medical drama in general, because I think technically something like General Hospital probably beats the shit out of it, but that's a soap. That's
I was going to say soaps.
Different, very genre, different.
Yeah.
So
it's borderline a different medium.
Pretty much, yeah. The way they have to churn those out so quickly, it absolutely is. So yeah, there's the renewals. So we have one official cancellation and then bizarrely two effectively cancellations. So the official one is Grownish, which is the spin-off of Blackish, which is a freeform show. It's ending with season 6, which is airing in 2 halves. First half coming this summer. So they're just announcing that this is going to be it. The other two, though, it's kind of funny that typically speaking, we don't have. I won't say leaks. I will say someone said something they weren't supposed to. It's funny that there was 2 of these in 1 week.
Yeah, that is weird.
Yeah, because I've got 2 kind of similar things here. So, Curb Your Enthusiasm. It looks like season 12, which is the upcoming season, might be its last, which isn't that big a deal or a shame because it started in 1999, and the fact that it kept coming back after these breaks was kind of special in its own right. So 12 seasons ain't nothing to sniff at.
It might be its last until in 4 or 5 years' time where he decides he wants to do another one.
Yeah, he's in his 70s now though, so maybe he just wants to rest.
But he'll get bored. He strikes me as the type of man who'll just get bored if he sits around. Yeah,
but this came from producer John Heyman, who tweeted out, maybe you love the show, maybe you hate the show, maybe you don't give a shit. In any event, shooting the last scene of the last episode of the final season. He then deleted the tweet, implying that he's not supposed to be telling people that, but...
Yeah. Producers should know that sort of thing.
He probably should. Maybe he just didn't realise they hadn't announced it yet, or something. But...
Well, they have now.
Yeah. Which does make me wonder if it's if they go in knowing it's the last season, have they done something sort of special send-off for the ending? And, that's why it's clearly the last episode. They
killed him.
I mean, either kill him or just do something special, but bring the Seinfeld cast back for something or something. I don't know. But so that's cool. And then the other one, and this is important. You'll like this one. This is more in your wheelhouse.
Oh, I'm getting suspicious now.
Billions.
I was right to be suspicious.
Damian Lewis is returning for the last season, but it's now confirmed to be the last season. Although, again, asterisk, not really confirmed, but someone. So
and who cares? Because there's about 12 of the bloody things coming.
Dan Soder, who's an actor on the show, was what was it? It was on NBC Sports Chicago's Football Night, right? So he was on a sports show, and he just casually said, "Season 7, the final season, is on its way," and then immediately followed up by saying, Oh, am I not supposed to say that? I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. That's the quote.
Respect for not just deleting it.
Well, he couldn't because it was on a TV show.
Oh, okay, yeah, true. But pretending it didn't happen and like editing it out.
Yeah. Maybe it was live.
Maybe, or maybe there's an audience and it's like, well, if they all know, it's going to get out there.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have much to say about Billions. Let's be honest, I put it in because Billions is a bit of a meme now on this show.
Every time you see something, it's like, oh, let's go to the news.
Yep. It could be a changing contract for the catering of the show, and I'll put it in here just so you
can lead in with something like, oh, get excited.
We got a couple premiere dates coming up. So The Walking Dead Dead City has got a premiere date of June 18th. This is the Lauren Cohen and
right.
What's his face? Negan's a character, but yeah, I'm talking about.
I do know who you're talking about. I can picture his face.
The Winchester father.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the one with those two in it, and yeah, so there's a short teaser out for it, but it's like 15 seconds. It's not really much. I just want to say, The Walking Dead Dead City is a clunky title. Having like the first part end with Dead and then the subtitles start with Dead feels really awkward to say. And I know people will just say Dead City, and that's fine. Like,
yeah, but like you feel like you should have just called it Walking Dead City at that point, right?
Yeah, The Walking Dead City, or yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but Fear the Walking Dead had the same problem, kind of. It was, The Walking Dead. Well, no, actually, no, that one wasn't a colon. That was just Fear the Walking Dead. No, okay.
No,
that's fair.
It's not a good title, but it's better than this. At least it flows better.
I never loved that title, but I do think there's more potential in that format. Like, I would have called this City of the Walking Dead.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. Once they've established that's their shtick.
Which also kind of harkens back to Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. They kind of homages that as well. But well, whatever. They've called it The Walking Dead : Dead City, which does not roll off the tongue. But
I want it to be awkward.
And then the other premiere date, this is FX. This is Mayans MC season 5, which is the final season of the Sons of Anarchy spin-off. Is coming May 24th. So it seemed worth mentioning. Not that either of us care, but
I mean,
people might.
It might be better than the original show because it's not got Blandy McBlanderson as the lead actor, right?
Charlie Hunnam.
That's the one.
It's a shame though, because I had Ron Perlman and Katie Seagal in it.
That's true.
And I like those actors, but yeah, I never found much appeal for Sons of Anarchy. Some general stuff. Slight change of episode count for the next season of House of the Dragon. It's been reduced to 8 episodes from 10. But the upside to this is that apparently the reason for this is because they're sort of like planning the show out a little bit, and this is effectively like not confirmed, but very likely this decision's been made with the sort of the likelihood of a season 3. It's kind of like, do 8 episodes and you get an 8 episode season 3 after kind of thing. So
it's not unreasonable. 8 episodes is fine. It's pretty normal for these sorts of shows at the minute.
Yeah, season 1 was 10 episodes, so this is them.
I didn't get past 4, maybe.
I didn't even watch 1, so don't ask me my opinion.
I didn't get through all the time jumps. I know that.
Okay. So apparently they did already write, or at least have rough drafts of like 10 episodes, so they're rewriting to like accommodate it into 8 episodes now. But at least if it's more of a planning long-term thing and thinking about like how many seasons there's going to be and what.
Yeah, and if those 8 episodes, the 10 episodes they had were 50 minutes to an hour, HBO let them have 8 longer episodes usually.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
with it being having the Game of Thrones branding and they kind of get free reign. Right?
HBO used to be very strict about being that exact hour mark, but I feel like in the last few years they've definitely eased up on that. If someone realized, wait, it's our own network, we can just let it run late, especially since they're a premium network that doesn't necessarily adhere to ad blocks in the same way that the regular channels do.
Yeah, I noticed, like just recently, Last of Us had some episodes as short as I think 45 minutes, but then others were like an hour 10, an hour 15, something like that. I can't remember without looking exactly, but there was definitely a good 20 or 30 minutes total fluctuation, I think, on either side of the hour. So that's a reasonable amount of freedom, and it's probably one of the only good things that Netflix has given us. It's kind of Netflix kind of spearheaded that. Yeah, kind of run along, do whatever. And at the time, they caused their own problems with it. Just people went wild because we don't need to edit this down now. But
it's a double-edged sword in some ways. But
I do think as we've got past that initial burst of freedom, there have been creators who are like, okay, just because we can go longer doesn't mean we have to, and we are starting to see more fluctuations and just refinement within that. And it's I think it's worked out better this now.
Yeah, by and large, Last of Us benefited from the alternating length to whatever fit the episode. With the exception of the finale, which I do think should have been a bit longer. But other than that,
I haven't got to that one yet, but I just happen to know the rough episode lengths.
Yeah. So then the other bit of general news here is that Jessica Chastain has been cast in the Apple limited series The Savant, which I'm sure we brought up at some point in the past months. This is an 8-part limited series which has been in works for a while, and it comes from Anatomy of a Scandal co-creator Melissa James Gibson, and is produced by Fifth Season and Anonymous Content. It'll see Chastain play a top-secret investigator known as the Savant, who infiltrates online hate groups to take down the most violent men in the country. So it seems like maybe a bit of a showpiece for her.
Yeah, I'm hearing this is going to be Matt's new favorite show.
Well, are you hearing that, or have you just made that assumption in the last 10 seconds?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes, Matt will probably watch. He doesn't watch a lot of TV, but he'll watch this just because Chastain's in it. I will bet you anything. So yeah, there you go. That's the general stuff. So there's no comedies this week actually, but there are 2 animated projects to talk about.
Well, at least one of them I know, unless you're going to swerve me and tell me it's not in here.
I suspect it's this first one that I'm going to bring up. So for some reason we have to have another version of Scott Pilgrim in the world. So despite the fact that I believe this is just another adaptation of the comic, it's bringing back all of the cast from the movie pretty much.
It's unclear as to whether it's an adaptation or not. Edgar Wright has been very coy on the matter, and it's like, hey, just watch it. So hard to say right now. I don't know if it's just an adaptation, if it's going to have stuff that the movie didn't adapt, because obviously it was a 2-ish hour movie. And also, if I remember rightly, the movie ending is very different from the comic, because I don't think the comic had finished by the time that they were shooting the movie, so they kind of just made up their own ending. So it might be a more faithful ending.
Yeah, still feels a bit. Admittedly, I have some bias here. I don't like Scott Pilgrim that much.
And also, you don't like anime, which this is an anime.
Yeah, I also don't like anime. But I still, even if this was something I cared about, I'd still feel weird about, the cast. Unless it's, more of a sequel, where they're continuing the story in some way. I wouldn't really get the appeal of having all the same cast back again just to redo it as an animated show.
I agree, especially as it was very, for a live action movie, it was very, out there. It wasn't beholden to typical, let's just be.
Oh yeah, it was very stylish. It did a lot of things to, there was fancy graphics. There was moments where it did kind of turn animated for a moment in the background, or there was already a lot of style there. So I'm not even sure what they were missing. It's not like, we had to tone it down because it was a mainstream movie. They didn't.
That's it. It wasn't that. No, it wasn't we made it this serious version for this live adaptation.
The gritty R-rated Scott Pilgrim.
They didn't do that. It was, I'm not going to say straight off the page, but pretty close. As close as you realistically want in most live action scenarios.
Yeah, but there's a huge list of names coming, but it's basically just everyone. I'm not even looking.
It's everyone. It is. Yeah, I saw the list earlier, and I'm like, yeah, it's everyone. And that's in like my top 5 movies of all time. So I'm kind of excited just based off of that, and I'm like, well, I have to see it, but I don't know. I hope it's more than just an adaptation again, because also, like I said, I already love the movie to bits. I don't need the movie again, but anime.
It was really hard not to make a face when you said it was in your top
You
5
did make
of
a
all
face.
time.
You
Yeah,
failed.
but it could have been more of a face though. Like that was a restrained face.
I'm sorry that I have better taste than you.
That was reined in. Like I sort of caught myself doing it when no, I'm going to try and hold this back now. Okay.
Look, I want to point out, I did not say it is one of the best movies of all time, just that it is in my top 5 favorites.
The other animated project we've got here is also Netflix, because I don't know if I mentioned, but that was at Netflix, the Scott Pilgrim. But Netflix have greenlit a 2D animated series called Gentry Chow and the Underworld, from first-time showrunner Echo Wu and executive producers Ali Wong and Aaron Eli Colite. So Wong will star in the supernatural action series alongside Bowen Yang, Laurie Tan Chen, Lucy Liu, Jimmy O Yang, Shen Wang, and Woo-sung Kim. Lucy Liu being the name that sticks out there more than
that most people will know.
Yeah. The series follows Gentry Chow, voiced by Wong, a Chinese-American teen living in a small Texas town who finds out a demon king is hunting her for the supernatural powers she's been working her whole life to repress. With the help of her weapons expert great aunt and millennia-old Jiangxi, Chinese hopping vampire, Gentry must now fight an entire underworld worth of monsters while balancing the horrors of high school. That's almost personal and professional if we count skill as professional. I laughed a little bit at the Chinese hopping vampire because I watched the movie a few years ago for a bonus episode of The Ace, which was called Robo Vampire. It was this cheap, crappy movie that was like a RoboCop knockoff mixed with these weird vampires. But the vampires were hopping, and it was like the most stupid thing ever. And I'm like, why have they made this choice?
And turns out it's a thing.
And then, since then, I have learned that this is actually some bit of folklore that they tapped into. They didn't just make it up. So I chuckled at seeing Chinese hopping vampire.
Understandable. Honestly, sounds kind of fun. I'd probably dig it. I'm sure I'll check it out eventually when it does come out. This reminded me though, as I was reading, we were reading a comic last week. I don't know what comic it was, but I nearly had to reach for a drink. The exact line was dealing with political and personal problems.
I saw a tweet that had personal and professional on it this week.
Oh, I know what comic it was. It was the last issue of Undiscovered Country I read last week.
Mm.
It was just one panel, political and personal, and I just instinctively just looked for a drink.
Yeah. Reading the description of this, I was getting like Raven, as in Raven from the Teen Titans vibes, but then the vampire made me shift a little bit more Buffy by the end. That's the hit television show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, for anyone who's not keeping up. So, yeah, that's sort of dealing with those kind of things. Teenager, fighting the monsters of evil, blah, blah, blah. Alright, on to the dramas then. First up, Paramount Plus have given a green light to a new Star Trek show. They have officially ordered, and this is one we kind of knew was in development years ago, but they've finally ordered Star Trek Starfleet Academy. Star Trek Starfleet Academy will introduce us to a young group of cadets who come together to pursue a common dream of hope and optimism. Under the watchful and demanding eyes of their instructors, they will discover what it takes to become Starfleet officers as they navigate the blossoming friendships, explosive rivalries, first loves, and a new enemy that threatens both the Academy and the Federation itself. Alex Kurtzman.
Make it professional.
It's borderline again if you're including academia as their. Actually, I would argue this is more professional in this case because they're specifically training for their role in Starfleet, which is a career.
Yeah, damn it.
Yeah. Alex Kurtzman and Noga Landau are co-showrunning it, so I hope it's good. I mean, it's a fine idea to set a show at Starfleet Academy. It's kind of surprising it's taken this long to do it.
Yeah, I think we heard about this originally in some form or another probably around the same time we started hearing about Picard.
Yeah, it was in the same list, yeah. So they've kind of waited till that was wrapping up, and funnily enough, Discovery is also wrapping up to kind of go ahead with this.
Yeah, whether or not it's that they're like, okay, we need to replace this now, or if it's just they've been struggling behind the scenes with the idea for this one. I don't know why, because it seems pretty easy, right? With your premise.
Yeah, if I was to guess, I would say that it was just okay, we don't want any more Star Trek shows right now. 3 live action shows is fine for the meantime. And then once they were wrapping up, it's like, okay, we'll bring out one of the ones that was waiting in the wings. And I know you're going to say that they wanted to have Star Trek all year round.
They did, yeah.
But they never even got close to it. And they clearly decided not to pursue it at some point.
Now, let's see if the next few weeks, now that they're losing 2 shows, right, with Picard and Discovery. Mm-hmm. We've got this one coming in. Let's see if we finally start hearing stuff about Section 31 being real.
I don't think it's ever happening.
I think if there's ever a time, it's after Discovery's finished, though.
Okay, I could see that. And maybe they want to try and cash in on Michelle Yeoh's success.
Popularity, even though she was already,
She was already popular, but probably, she sort of, been reintroduced to, a sort of a new generation, I suppose, if you will.
Yeah.
So they might want to, try and bank on that. But that also may make it harder. Maybe she's in more demand now, and they can't lock her down anymore. And all of a sudden, we can do Section 31, but we can't have the character that we're going to build the entire thing around.
Yeah, let's start from scratch.
Oh, well. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. I mean, this sounds like a fine idea. I mean, Alex Kurtzman being attached is still a bit of a red flag, but...
That's every Trek show ever right now.
Pretty much. So... we'll see. I mean, I think on paper, there's no reason why this can't be a great idea. Starfleet Academy is something that's mentioned just about every version of Star Trek we've ever had. It's something that's sort of so well established as being this thing that all of the characters from Star Trek, at least the ones on the ship anyway, the crew, all go through this, that it just makes sense at some point to do the college-style show about Starfleet Academy. And, whenever we get flashbacks of Picard or whoever in their time in Starfleet Academy, they're always, they're a bit more reckless or a bit more thrill-seeking at the time. It actually might be fun to introduce young characters who can be like that the whole time, And
it won't feel weird because they are younger characters.
Yes. So, yeah, that makes sense. The other big news this week, and there wasn't a lot of official news to go with this, it was kind of just again, comments from someone, but it's kind of too juicy to ignore. So Chris Carter, the creator of the X-Files, just casually mentioned this week on a podcast of some kind that he's been speaking to Ryan Coogler, the director of the Black Panther movies and other stuff that he's done with Michael B. Jordan. He is developing a new version of X-Files. Yeah, so that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, let's... There's a lot of things that are basically X-Files in the past 20 years that have tried to kind of be that. This will be the first one that'll have the name again.
Yeah, I think what I will say is this: not that we need X-Files to come back in some form, but if you're going to have more X-Files, I think it absolutely should be a reboot. Not necessarily something where you have to you redo the characters again that were in the original, or you redo the story of the original. I just mean it can't be a continuation again of Mulder and Scully. Just every glimpse I've seen of any of the later stuff, and the disappointment of the people who watch the X-Files and care about the X-Files, trying to continue that story and pretending that there's going to be an ending, unless you're actually doing a definitive ending and sticking to it, is a disaster. So starting fresh with a new creator who's going to have new characters, doing spooky alien stories.
Yeah, fine. From a relative outsider's perspective, the X-Files is you've got your 2 characters, your skeptic and your believer, hunting, following up crimes that may or may not be supernatural.
Yes.
Or alien, and that's all you really need. As long as you've got that structure, I would say, and you can slap the X-Files name on it.
Yeah, I guess the questions I would have is where's this going to be? If it's on network TV, I suspect it'll probably not be that great, just because network TV tends to not be good that much anymore. There's very few examples I have. The one notably, which is actually kind of X-Files, it was Debris, which I really liked season 1 of, and then it got cancelled. But it got cancelled because it was too serialized for network TV, and that seems to always happen.
It does, but also like if there is anything that can work on network TV still and be, good for what it is, it'll be an X-Files-y style show.
Yeah. But I would wonder though if it ends up somewhere else, because keep in mind this is Disney owned now, so this could go anywhere. I mean, they could put it on Disney Plus. That's not out of the question. They might do that.
I would be maybe more expected to be the Hulu in the US
or FX.
Or FX. Oh, yeah. In either way,
in fact, think of the branding. You're on FX. The X-Files on FX. I mean, the branding just kind of does itself.
Yeah. And then obviously they'll slap it on the Disney Plus Star stuff internationally.
Yeah. So I think there's potential in the new X-Files. It's I have liked some of what I've seen of X-Files. I've seen season 1 in the past. I mean, this would be a reason to go through it, I suppose, at some point. If it comes more.
Do you
real.
really want that heartbreak?
Well, that's the thing. The X-Files is kind of a weird show, and the ongoing story arc that it comes back to a few episodes every season is the thing that tends to be more disappointing. But why people like the X-Files was some of the great standalone episodes that it had. It was kind of the opposite of something that was Buffy was kind of the similar time, right? It was a couple of years later, but Buffy was very much I had good standalone episodes, sure, but the best stuff was typically the season plot. It was the overall arcs and the characters, what they were going through and changing throughout the season. X-Files, from everything I understand from people who love X-Files, no, the standalone episodes are the reason to watch X-Files. The overall plot, it just
pretend it doesn't exist.
Like, not that it's necessarily all bad, but certainly it's not what you remember fondly from it. So yeah, I'm curious at the very least. It's definitely someone with some talent that's seemingly working on it. How much is going to be involved in like a directing or writing capacity is another question, but
I would honestly think very little, ultimately.
Yeah, maybe the pilot.
Yeah, direct the pilot probably. Maybe not about write it, but
yeah. So yeah, new X-Files. We'll see how that goes. Speaking of new versions of things, Netflix have ordered a show based on Man on Fire. So not based on the movie per se. The movie was also based on the same book, but it is the same thing you're thinking of. It's the Denzel Washington, Tony Scott movie. So it's a drama series based on the A.J. Quinnell Man on Fire and The Perfect Kill, which is the first 2 books in Quinnell's 5-book series. So I don't know if that's implying that this first season would be both those books rather than just the first one.
It sounded like it, unless they were just trying to make it clear that there are more books in a weird way of wording it.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like this. To me, that sounds like they're saying we're adapting the first 2 here, and then there's 3 more books to adapt. So maybe they're thinking 3 seasons.
Yeah,
give or take.
Sense.
Yeah, if it's good enough and successful enough to get more seasons. It comes from writer executive producer Kyle Killen from Fear Street and Halo. Halo. New Regency Productions and producer of Tony Scott's 2004 film starring Denzel Washington, Sherman Entertainment. So, written and produced by Killen, the 8-episode series tells the story of John Creasy, the role played by Washington in the 2004 film, and by Scott Glenn in the 1987 Italian film. What's so funny about that sentence is that I didn't know there was a previous version, and the fact that it's Italian, but Scott Glenn's an American actor, I'm sure.
It was to my knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a weird mash of like different facts that I was not aware of. But anyway, about a broken ex-mercenary on a mission to avenge the death of his only friend while protecting his fallen comrade's daughter from the forces that destroyed her family. So I actually really like the 2004 movie. It's my favorite Tony Scott movie. I'm not sure how much my love for that though is to do with the premise and more to just do with the Tony Scott direction, Denzel Washington and Dakota Fanning, like in those roles. So I'm not so sure I really care about another adaptation of that same material. It may be great. Don't get me wrong. Maybe we'll see a trailer and I'll be, oh, you know what, I'm into this. But I feel like the style of that movie is more what I liked about it.
Yeah. And where's this coming to? Do we know?
Netflix ordered this.
Okay, so I mean they could get some good direction on it. It's not impossible.
It's not impossible, but I can also see the bland Netflix show that this is probably going to be.
I was trying to good faith it and not go straight to that, but yeah, that was in my head.
I know you're thinking in your head it could be a Godless, but
it could.
But
it won't be, but it could.
It could be. So yeah, so I'm not that excited, but I am quite fond of the movie from 2004. Next up, we have a spin-off to Snowfall in development at FX. So Snowfall, I think, is just finished. This is, it's going to be starring one person from that show who's going to be like a bridging character. Gail Bean is going to reprise her fan favorite role of Wanda. The spin-off is a continuation of the original story set in 1990s Los Angeles, as South Central transitions from the crack era into the gangster rap business, with areas heavily infested by gangs led by the Bloods and the Crips. Wanda would serve as the connective tissue between the original show and the offshoot, which is expected to introduce other main characters. So, I had no idea that was a period piece, because I don't think I ever watched any of Snowfall.
No, I remember it starting. I remember seeing trailers, but I don't think I paid too much attention to it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You know, obviously doing spin-offs and continuations is a popular thing. I do at least appreciate, though, this is like, okay, our show ended, we kind of want to do more in that world, let's try and think of a new show and focus on that now, as opposed to the Walking Dead / Billions method of, let's do 5 shows!
Yeah, this is pretty much, as far as I can tell, like a direct sequel as well. Like, it's mostly different characters, but in terms of the chronology and the setting, it's like, well, hang on, that story's over, but this is the next story that takes place, almost.
Yeah. So, yeah, fair enough. Obviously, we don't have much attachment to it, but it's a fair project by the sounds of it. Yep. Next up, Peacock is developing a drama series called Queen of Flow, a premium adaptation of Caracol television Colombian telenovela La Reina del Flow. I'm assuming La Reina is just Queen, but people could correct me if I'm wrong. Jorge Reyes is attached to write the script for the project from Westbrook Studios and Universal Television. Singer and actress Becky G is in early negotiations to lead the series. And it says here she's from Power Rangers, so I'm assuming she was the Yellow Ranger in the movie. Say,
I definitely knew the name. And I can't remember. For some reason, I had in my head it was either Power Rangers, which it is, or what was that movie with? I think it was Haley Steinfeld and Sophie Turner from Game of Thrones, the kind of the spy school thing.
Oh, Barely Lethal.
Yeah, I feel like she might have been in that.
Oh, maybe she was. I don't remember in it, but she may have been. I quite like that movie. You know that?
I do as well, despite the general consensus seeming to be not that hot.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun little movie, but everyone wanted to shit on it for some reason. Anyway, Queen of Flow is a revenge tale / musical drama about a young singer-songwriter named Yemi, the role Becky G's in talks for, who rises to fame in the music world and finds a star-crossed love with the superstar scion of a powerful family. But on her rise to the top, dark secrets are discovered about Yemi and the family she's made her own that set them on a collision course towards a reckoning that could destroy them all.
So it's Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I feel like you had a little bit of personal and professional there, and you also had a bit of the dark secret, family secret coming up.
I'll give you the family secrets. Personal and professional never hit the wording.
Okay.
Wasn't the phrasing of it. But yeah, no, it was very Romeo and Juliet. I appreciate at least if they're doing this, they've cast someone who I assume can sing, given that she has a music career as well as an acting career.
I assume that was the intent, was to get someone who actually can
pull off both roles there.
Can do the rapping part, yes.
Yeah.
The sing songs.
At least they've thought ahead with that.
Yeah. Paramount Plus has greenlit a UK original drama series based on Sarah Pinborough's sleep deprivation thriller Insomnia. The adaptation will be produced by Left Bank Pictures, the UK production company that reimagined Pinborough's Behind Her Eyes for Netflix in 2021. She's going to adapt the story for the screen. It tells the story of a successful career woman, Emma Averill, who fears she is losing her mind after suffering from sleep deprivation 2 weeks before turning 40. Her mother had a similar experience at the same age, suffering a violent psychotic breakdown on the night of her 40th birthday. But even as she relives the experience of her mother, Avril believes other forces may be at work. Her mother is hospitalized with a sudden injury, her estranged sister returns without warning, and she feels as if she is being watched. Only by investigating the truth of her painful past can she find the answers of her present. I feel like you've got obviously the secrets of the painful past and all that, but I feel like the estranged sister returning, like I feel like a estranged family member returns could almost be a rule of itself. It doesn't pop up too often, but it's an eye-rolling one on its own.
Yeah, I guess I'll drink for this one as well then.
There's enough there together to make you drink.
This is why I drink the cheaper stuff for this, because otherwise I'd burn through my good stuff.
Honestly, it doesn't sound that appealing to me, but the one thought I have is that the synopsis they gave me here felt really start and stoppy. It was like 3 separate things that didn't really flow together. So much so that like I read it quickly to make it clear I was talking about the plot still, but when I was reading this earlier, I thought it shifted to talking about the writer saying her mother had this condition. And I was like, oh no, she's still talking about the character.
Yeah.
But the way it sort of broke into a new sentence, and it was a new paragraph even, it sounded like it had shifted to talking about the writer. Anywho.
It's bizarre how many of these are just badly written. Not even like, they don't do a great job of capturing the essence of the show, just badly written.
Oh, yeah. Just poor grammar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more often you'd think on something that should be this professional thing that someone has a job doing.
Yeah, as a PR person's presumably writing some of these things, but...
Yeah.
All right, next up, Gina Rodriguez is developing a series adaptation of Sonoro podcast series Princess of South Beach for Netflix. The streamer optioned the podcast, and that Jane the Virgin Star Rodriguez is executive producing under her I Can and I Will Productions. She is not set to star in it as of yet. That could change, but right now there's no news of such. So, Princess of South Beach follows Maria del Carmen and Gloria, twin sisters who were separated at birth and raised in dramatically different ways, one in a convent and the other at the lap of luxury. When a freak accident kills Gloria, Maria del Carmen assumes her identity and uncovers that Gloria's rich family isn't as picture perfect as they seem. The bilingual series pays homage to beloved telenovela tropes and adds modern twists.
I hate it.
I thought they were doing a sister thing where they're going to like become swap friends places. And well, this isn't swap places. They just sort of became actual sisters.
Yeah, no, I thought they were going to do that on this though. I thought they were going to like swap places or something.
Well, one swaps places.
Yeah, but that's not the same as one taking the other's place is not swapping places.
Yeah. Well, it's not her fault the other one died. Well, unless it is.
It might be.
It could be a murder.
So, did we know that?
Could be sister side. What's the sibling version of like patricide and matricide?
Murder.
Siblicide.
I don't know. I'm assuming there's a word for it. There's a word for everything.
Yeah. All right. Universal Television is developing a series adaptation of Diane Marie Brown's debut novel Black Candle Women with Jenna Bush Hager, who has a first look deal at Universal Studio Group under her production banner 1,000 Voices. So, yes. Black Candle Women introduces 4 generations of Montrose women, Augusta, Victoria, and Willow, who have lived together in their quaint 2-story bungalow in California for years. I'm a little confused how it's 4 generations with only 3 people, but maybe this description will make that more clear as we go. They keep them to themselves, never venture far from home, and their collection of tinctures and spells is an unspoken bond between them. But when 17-year-old Nikki Montrose, oh, this is the 4th one, okay, fair enough, brings home a boy for the first time, their quiet lives are thrown into disarray, for the other women have been withholding a secret from Nikki that will end her relationship before it's even begun. The decades-old family curse that any person they fall in love with dies. Family secret.
I feel like you should probably tell a teenager that before, like the age of like 15, maybe.
Hey, much like Hulkamania, the hormones are running wild at 15.
Like,
or 17.
all I'm saying is, but like from like 15 years onwards, like, like teenage girls, like have a reputation for being emotional, right? That's like the shtick, whether real or not. But TV shows are supposed to play into that, and maybe these family members should have some more responsibility.
Yeah.
Or maybe they should commit sororicide, which is killing a sister.
Oh, did you look it up?
I did.
Oh, very good.
There's a different one for brother and sister. There's also just, I think it was like familicide,
well,
just killing any family member.
Sororicide, yeah, so that's like sorority. So
yeah,
fratricide, is that brother?
It is. Okay. Well done.
All right, there you go. Sometimes there's logic in language.
Yeah, but you can just go familicide. It's kill the family.
That sounds like more of an ensemble thing, though. You're going to kill them all.
It might well be, but maybe it's just a generic where hey, we can, if you kill more than one, but not all.
All right. Amazon Studios has secured rights to Aaron Foley's debut novel, Boys Come First. Sounds a bit dirty, but all right. We'll see where this goes. With plans to develop the property for television, tapping Chuck Hayward from Ted Lasso to write the pilot and executive produce the series. Field Trip will produce the show, developed under their overall deal with Amazon. So, Boys Come First tells I'll start that again. Boys Comes First tells the humorously heartfelt story of three gay millennial black... Oh, maybe it is dirty. Maybe they are coming first. Her heartfelt story of three gay millennial black men looking for love, navigating friendship and pursuing professional success against the rapidly evolving backdrop of contemporary Detroit.
Oh, that's got to be like the 8th one today. I'm not watching more.
I feel like it's mostly been the Secret Past stuff though. Like this has only been the second professional one, I think.
It has, yeah.
Personal and professional, baby.
And this one went full in for it as well.
Yes. I mean, I get what the title means. It's saying that boys come first, as in their love interests are their first priority, right? That's what it's saying. But
what is it? Because it's that's presumably what I think is the double joke is usually boys come first. It's saying, hey, your mates first.
Oh, okay, that's what you said.
Yeah, right. So it's like, hey, mates before your significant others.
I thought you were making a premature ejaculation joke, but go on.
I was not, but I wonder if that's maybe the joke here is that, well, which one is it referring to? And maybe the point is they don't know. Maybe they're not sure how they're balancing it.
Maybe it has a sense of maybe there's more of a sense of humor to it than because only the descriptions gives me a sense of humor vibe, but maybe the title is meant to be a little humorous.
Yeah,
I don't know. All right, final bit of news of the day then. CBS Studios is developing The Mysterious Mortons. It's a CBS show from Amy Rardon from Charmed, George Northy from Charmed, and Laurie Zaks from Castle. The show follows a homicide detective, I'm shocked, who enlists his quirky family of mystery writers to assist him in cracking the cases that perplex the authorities. It's a cop show, but the partner is my whole family.
CBS gonna CBS.
Yeah. To be fair, this sounds more like a Fox show to me, but it is still very CBS.
CBS have been doing this a lot the last couple of years, though.
Yeah. At least it doesn't sound as boring as some of the other. It sounds it's gonna be a chuckle. The premise is chuckle worthy, if nothing else.
Oh yeah, but it won't be good.
No, I wouldn't suggest such a thing. But hey, but that's the news. That's this week's news. What a weird hodgepodge it was. But there was even Scott Pilgrim news, and even Connor's not sure if he wants it. That's how much of a weird mixed bag it was this week. But
do you want an extra random tidbit story I saw on Twitter during the week?
Oh, go on, give us a tidbit.
So, you're familiar with Modern Family?
Yes. The show or the concept of a Modern Family?
The show specifically,
okay,
but I mean,
yes.
So what I saw this week is apparently the two creators of the show hated each other. They hated each other so much they couldn't work together. So apparently they essentially had two writers' rooms, and they just split up episodes. When you do these ones, I'll do those ones, and that's why apparently if even people watch the show, there's like a lot of inconsistencies amongst like character direction and things like that. It's because it was essentially just two different takes on the same characters running at the same time in the same show.
I wonder when that's because I watched the first few seasons. I wonder if how early it was that divergence happened, because it went for like 10 seasons, so it could have been like season 5 or 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know, but it sounds like it was at least for a good few years at the very least, and I'm like, that's a bizarre way to run a show.
That is you'd almost think that the network or someone would step in and be like, "This isn't on. This is a mess." But
yeah, like the way it sounds is like they would because it came from like some like random. It's like an old interview, but like people have kind of dug it back up, and it was like offhand comments. Obviously, this has not been delved into, but it sounded like there might have been like one large writers' room, and like, but they both treated them as their own, their own respective writers, and it was essentially all the writers' jobs in the middle to try and make it as cohesive a show as possible amongst these two entirely different visions for what the show was meant to be. And yeah, it was just like they had completely different like perspectives on, like, one was like, oh no, it's meant to represent all these things, it's it's a stand-in for this and that, and the other one was like, it's just a funny show. I'll see if I can find this because it was so wild.
That is curious. If I ever go back and just binge that for something silly to watch, it'll be fun.
You'll be looking to see if you can figure out which one split up into which.
Yeah, because it wouldn't even necessarily be alternating, because sometimes schedules don't work out that way. It could be like little bundles of episodes. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, they did it from the start, apparently.
From the start?
I found it now, yeah.
But that's so hard.
We realized, this comes from one of the showrunners, we're both strong, opinionated people, and we very quickly realized it doesn't make sense to sit here and debate each other and waste time. We often come at it from different points of view. So we said, let's just switch off on who has the final say.
I would have just assumed that you wouldn't be able to start a show like that. So I would have assumed that at least season 1 would have been like them working together and maybe realizing over the course of like hating each other in that season at least, oh, we have to split and do something weird with how we run this show. The fact that it started basically like that is really weird, and I'd be like, oh shit, is this going to last? And it did last because they had 10 seasons of the bloody thing. But
yeah, apparently they did it for about 7 years like that, from what what it seems to be.
Yeah, I think
that's still a long time to be doing that.
Yeah, now you mention it, I think the original showrunners did leave at some point in the last couple of years. Was someone else had been promoted, so maybe it got more coherent for the last few seasons.
Maybe, but
to be fair, I did watch the first few seasons. I don't remember there being that bad inconsistencies, but I mean, I don't know how close I was paying attention.
Credit to the rest of the writers' room, I guess. Then, but no, apparently it's one of the showrunners went off and did that Reboot show, the one that just got cancelled. I only had like the one season. Mm-hmm. We watched the trailer for it. Apparently, a lot of that show was kind of talking about that experience and beyond just being a generic look at reboot culture in Hollywood, as it seemed to be from the trailer. Apparently, more in depth, it was actually kind of a critical look at that sort of working relationship.
That's interesting.
That made me more interested to go and watch that show than anything else.
It's a shame it got. I mean, it looked kind of good anyway, but it's a shame it got cancelled because the other guys probably loves that it didn't last. Because he probably took it as a personal attack, and he was like, your show failed.
Yeah.
Maybe his next show failed too.
I just saw that, and I was like, that is a wild way to run a TV show for years.
I mean, it's how we run this podcast. So.
Well, yeah, but we don't have someone else looking at our notes and going, I'm going to just leave some notes on that, but hey, you do you. Yeah.
We need an ambassador to go back and forth between. That's how it should work.
Yeah.
But okay, that is the news for the week, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. You can, of course, check out the various reviews going up. There's a new Deep Space Nine review. It's already up on Patreon. It'll be up for everyone during this week. We'll hopefully be back to weekly Trek reviews, assuming we get one in time this coming week. But we've been chipping away at those. Obviously, Picard's still going. Last of Us wrapped up. Quantum Leap's first season is just about to wrap up. We just sort of did the 2 penultimate episodes this week, so the finale's coming up next week. We'll see how that goes. The last 2 episodes were better. You know, it's still not necessarily a great show, but like it was kind of rough for like 5 or 6 episodes.
Is it potentially just season 1 network rough, or is it like?
Well, we had a theory because it was meant to be 13 and they got extended. Or 12 or 13, they got extended by 5 or 6 episodes, and it kind of felt like all the plans they had for the last few episodes like stayed the last few episodes, and then there was like just
some random inserted that quick, we need to make up some more episodes.
It felt like they were just sort of spinning their wheels, and the episodes were just felt lower quality. But the last 2 were definitely better. So we'll see how the last one wraps up. But yeah, so that's cool. And once Picard's done, we'll be going back to finish off Babylon 5, me and Tara. So
you must be near the end of that now.
Yeah, we've only got like, I think like 6 episodes and like 2 TV movies, something like that. It's nothing too much. So yeah, that is the plan. And this is like 2 weeks old now, but I did a pilot called Extrapolations from Apple, which wasn't very good. It was pretty rough. But like a PowerPoint about global warming or climate change would have been more entertaining. It'd have been better.
Oof, that's damning.
Like obviously, like I said on the review, like I agree with the message the show is trying to give us. Like I'm politically behind like doing something about climate change, but this show is just not
good entertainment.
No, it's not good entertainment. It's bland characters, soap opera style stuff that just all ties into like a near future where the climate's going to shit. I don't know. Anyway,
what do you mean going to shit in the near future? It already is.
Well, what's worse in the near future? It's set in like 2037.
Oh, okay. So everything's already on fire.
Yeah, and I think the episodes like jump. Like every 2 episodes is a time jump, like to another decade. So I think by the end of the season, it's at like 2090 or something like
that. And there's an Earth left.
Aye. Doesn't mean there'll be life on it, but there's an Earth.
The last 2 episodes are just shots of a desert.
Yeah. It's not like people are. It's not like scientists are saying the Earth's going to explode. It's just all the life will just die.
Hey, I'm sure some of them are. I bet I can find at least one scientist who'll say that.
Whatever crazy scientist you've found under a rock who's willing to say that the Earth's going to blow up like Krypton is. I'm not going.
I guarantee you, I can find one.
Probably, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're right. I will take the greater scientific community and what they're saying as a whole.
Look, all it says, I will find an expert who tells me that the world will blow up.
Expert in what? Flat earthing?
I decline to answer that. I don't want to jeopardize my expert's impartiality.
This man's a scientific expert. He says the Earth's going to explode. Yeah, what's his expertise in? Oh, his doctorate's in like birds. Yeah. He's an aviation expert.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the show. But you can support the content, keep the podcast coming, and all the other things we do over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. And of course, check out MailFuzz Movies, the sister channel with all the movie podcasts. Out this weekend, the Collector's Cut has been working through all the John Wick movies, so this weekend is going to be the John Wick 4 episode. So you can watch our thoughts on all 4 movies this weekend. You can, if you're seeing this early on Patreon, you can go back and watch the first 3 at least already. So yeah, check out that. But that's the show. Thank you very much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Have you got any vanilla?